Well, here's something very interesting that's come out of the inquiry into the invoking of the Emergencies Act in Canada to crush the peaceful protesters in Ottawa. Here's a headline. Trudeau cabinet casually discussed crushing Freedom Convoy with tanks. Justice Minister David Lametti claimed it was a joke, although he may not have been joking about suggesting they call in the army. So here's the text. You need to get the police to move, and the Canadian Armed Forces if necessary. Too many people are being seriously adversely impacted by what is an occupation. I am getting out as soon as I can. People are looking to us, you, for leadership, and not stupid people. People like Carney, Kath, my team. And the response is, how many tanks are you asking for? I just want to ask Anita how many we've got on hand. I reckon one will do. So they're saying they were joking. I just have one problem with that. I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt because they would not do it for you or I. If this were some random Twitter account saying you just reverse it, there's no way they're giving you the benefit of the doubt. In fact, they're going to use it as evidence. Evidence for something like, I don't know, maybe invoking the Emergencies Act. No, if they got a hold of something like this and it was to their advantage, they're not going to care if it was meant as a joke or not. They're going to go all the way with it. They and the paid-off media in Canada would use it as an example of right-wing extremism and then use it to justify whatever authoritarian thing they've got on their plate next. So they say it's a joke, and you know what? I don't care if it is a joke or not. If you were just to reverse this, they would absolutely not display the slightest bit of decency themselves. So I'm going to hold them to their own standards. They wanted to use tanks. That's what I'm saying. They wanted to use tanks on peaceful protesters. That's what I'm reading here. And even if you were to be more patient than I am and grant them that it's a joke, it still exposes their mind frame, their attitude towards the peaceful protesters. I mean, here he uses the word occupation. That's the word they were using. That's the word they chose to use out of a cynical political utility. I mean, don't forget, Trudeau said that the protesters were a fringe minority with unacceptable views. Kind of feels to me like your ministers are a fringe minority with unacceptable views. In fact, you, Justin Trudeau, are a fringe minority with unacceptable views. And what about this sentence, and the Canadian Armed Forces, if necessary? That doesn't sound like a joke to me at all. That sounds like you were quite serious. So these text messages that have been revealed before the Emergencies Act inquiry, they're from February 2nd, which is just 5 days after the anti-mandate protesters set up blockades in the nation's capital. So just 5 days in, it looks to me like he was calling to bring the armed forces in. And this is interesting. Just 1 day after the Mendicino-Lametti text exchange, Defense Minister Anita Anand issued a statement saying, the Canadian Forces are not a police force. As such, there are no plans for the Canadian Armed Forces to be involved in the current situation in Ottawa in a law enforcement capacity. Anita Anand, that's the Anita from this text exchange. So I think it's probably fair to assume that, in fact, she was approached about bringing in the armed forces, and she said, yeah, I don't want that heat. So if we learn anything from this, at the very least, it's just simply the utter contempt that the Trudeau government held the peaceful protesters in, and their sense of unaccountability. I mean, you have to know when you're in these positions that if you're texting about using tanks on protesters, whether it's a joke or not, you know, there's a possibility that might come to light. And it has. And as I said, I don't accept that it was a joke. No, they would never offer anybody else that much grace. So no, they both need to resign. They both need to go. And when they're on their way out, can they please take Justin with them? Anyway, please subscribe, like, and share. That really helps me out. I thank you for that. I will see you next time.